Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Scorpio new moon. It's a super moon, so that means it's closer to the Earth. So it might be a beautiful, large, well, it's dark, so we won't see it, but it would be very big if we saw it. I have to double check for the full moon. I believe, though, that we're in an eclipse season coming up, and I'm pretty sure the next one is a partial eclipse in Taurus. So we've had a lot of geomagnetic activity going on lately. I don't know how many of you pay attention to that, but I do and I don't. I don't want to be obsessed with it, but at the same time, I have noticed that when there are a lot of geomagnetic storms, or they call them coronal mass ejections, or solar winds, solar flares, depending how severe they are, they can screw up our computers. They definitely emit a lot of electromagnetic frequency. So, a solar storm can be strong enough to knock out cell phone towers and stop generators, and if they're really big, so I pay attention to them because I've noticed that over the last decade or so, when there is a lot of electromagnetic activity, whether that was in and around me, like too many things going on, Wi-Fi appliances, smart meters, different things, or these storms, I would notice more headaches. I would notice more blurry vision. Those are my symptoms, but if you want, you can Google other symptoms of high EMF emissions. And, I like to put these things out there just in case for somebody it explains something, mysterious migraines, if nobody can solve the problem. Or, obviously we have our own tensions that contribute to it. And right now, especially a Scorpio new moon, it's quite intense, All those Scorpio planets already bring up a lot of things. And if you're in the West, it's getting, in Europe, it's getting darker, it's getting colder, makes us more tired as well. And yet, we always push ourselves to stay at the same pace, don't we? We have to be just as energetic and productive as we are in the middle of the summer all year round, or there's something wrong. But there's nothing wrong. You're supposed to rest. You're supposed to feel tired. You're supposed to feel the seasons. So we're at the sort of, the height of the darkness. The veils are the thinnest at Samhain. Happy Halloween, Samhain. A couple days ago, we're at the height of the darkness with the new moon then, even more so than officially October 31st was. So just keep in mind, you might feel extra tired. You might want to cocoon. You might not have the gumph, to get up and do your laundry or whatever you've got to get done. And just be patient with yourself. The last 2 or 3 months, as I've been saying, 3 months or so, been so hectic. Everything's speeding and very electric. And according to another intuitive I follow, because he's very on point, and I find he affirms or articulates a lot of the stuff that I also feel. I keep waiting for it to calm down, but I don't think it's going to calm down. According to him, the next 6 weeks, we can also expect to feel a lot of electrical charge and speediness. And there's a chance that it's time that you will have a breakthrough. And sometimes breakthroughs happen by, tension and anxiety reaching a critical mass, right? Or your mood's reaching an extreme. And then it's like when you just can't take it, finally, that's when you might make a decision, even though maybe you've needed to make it for a long, long time. So Scorpio's a great time, a great sign, a great time for breakthroughs. We're going to take a look first, as usual, at the chart, and then we'll do readings for everybody. And I wanted to mention, because this is new, I have a Patreon site, and I never really plug it or tell people. But if you enjoy my videos, if my work does help you in some way, maybe you want to go to my Patreon, which I'll put in the bottom, and become a subscriber. That'd be nice. I'd be happy. And then if I start getting enough people that are interested to subscribe, I will start creating those tiers and different things I can offer. But for now, it's just a matter of, if my platform is helping you out, you can donate if you wish. And the other thing is, the new moon is, Scorpio moon is considered the Celtic New Year. So if some of you feel very aligned with the moon phases as we go along over these months, maybe this will feel like a bit of a new year to you as well. Oh, pardon me. The Celts, the Druids, the Scots, they all considered this the new year. And there were different practices that they did at this time of year, because it would be the end of their harvest and was going into the colder months. So a lot of the time they would have fires burning, and they would let these harvest fires burn through the night. They would maybe bless their homes with smoke. Sometimes they blessed their fields and their livestock with this smoke. Some practices left their front door and back door open. They'd fill the house with smoke and then leave the doors open. And it was all sort of like purification and banishing any negative spirits, because the veils were thinner. They would put on these costumes, masks, or they would carve the lanterns, the jack-o'-lanterns. And I just learned from a Scottish friend that they used to use turnips to carve their lanterns. Can you imagine how much harder that is to carve a turnip? You'd have to gut the turnip in a round way and then it's much harder. So the jack-o'-lanterns or the pumpkins probably came to be because it's hard to carve the turnips, or maybe they had more of them. But that was done basically with all these scary faces. They were done to scare away bad spirits, because when the veils are thin, you might get messages from your guides or from your ancestors. You're meant to honor your ancestors this time of year. I'm bringing all this up even though Halloween has passed, because for me, the true Samhain or Halloween is when the new moon is in Scorpio. So it's still time this week to do any kind of harvest altar, any kind of ancestor communication, or just honoring or praying for them, putting a picture beside a candle, and see if you feel, just say gratitude. Maybe they'll come through, maybe they won't. But it was all about honoring the cycle of life and death, which is Scorpio. Death and rebirth, that's Scorpio. So that's why you have like this time when everything's open. The differences between these veils, between the afterlife and this life, are not so clear. So people were very afraid that, spirits could come and in some cultures, like, kidnap their children. So they had them dressed in these costumes. Others, you made food offerings at your doorstep for the gods or the spirits, so that they would bless your house, and the evil ones would leave you alone. And then at the same time, because they're thin, you can feel your ancestors, or you can receive messages. And this is why they used to do more tarot reading or divination around this holiday too, because maybe something would come through that would give you some clarity. I love this time of year. So this year, this time of year in particular, for me, or if you resonate with this holiday as a new year, this is a particularly profound time to set your goals. It's like in the West, our New Year's Eve, and January, you set your goals. Think about, what are you planting right now while it's the dark moon in the dark sign? Think about what roots do you want to go the deepest? What do you want for your next year? All right, let's dig into the astrology chart now. And again, the chart is cast for New York, and therefore it's cast in the Eastern time zone. So when I talk about houses and stuff, it's based on Eastern time zone. but the general dynamics are still true for everybody. Whew, I'm sorry, I'm yawning. I don't know, anyway, it's the season and I'm just feeling the extra tiredness myself. So, as usual, too, I have not looked at the chart until now. You're getting my raw reading of the chart. I like to do the readings as close as possible to the date, which is completely counterintuitive if you're thinking marketing. But it's about the truest energy coming through around the timing is what I've always cared about. So that's why I do my predictions as close to the day as possible. So the first thing we have is, of course, a cluster of planets in Scorpio. So what do we have? We've got the sun and moon together, of course, on a new moon at 12 degrees. We also have Mars that's just entered Scorpio too. At 3 degrees. Now, some people say 9 degrees is a bit wide to consider it a conjunction, where it means like that alignment of planets would add to each other. But I think in this case, because it is Mars and the moon, people will feel it. So what's that mean? Scorpio used to be ruled by Mars. Now it's ruled by Pluto. But the ancient ruler is Mars. And Mars is a god of war. So whenever I see the moon and Mars together in Scorpio, my first feeling is going to be something very penetrating, very deep, potentially emotionally or psychologically violent. Psychologically and emotionally powerful. Power, right? If I just use it as powerful, that's accurate. How do people use that power? That's the question mark. People can use that level of sheer focus, tough as nails kind of will, strategy, ultimate strategy. People can use that in a good way to set goals, to overcome enormous obstacles, heroic acts. But a lot of the time what happens is people can't manage that level of power. So it comes out as frustration, aggression, manipulation. And Moon, Mars, Sun, and Scorpio would have like a jealous, possessive side. It could be a stalker. It could try to smoothly, emotionally entangle or twist you into something. Now that's the shadow. But like I said, because it's Moon, Mars, and a dark moon, I bring out the potential shadows because I think that's what, let's say, the masses are reacting to. And for those who are able to harness this kind of intensity towards a productive goal or towards, like I said, an enormously strong or heroic type of act, amazing, right? But as we know, a lot of people aren't able to manage this level of power flowing through their bodies. The other thing too is that we're getting into the aspects now is those planets also are opposite Uranus, and this is cause for like ding, 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 alarm bells a little. Taurus and Scorpio are always like formidable in their own right. They're very strong and they're fixed signs and they're very stubborn. And of all the oppositions in the zodiac, I think these two are the strongest as far as when they oppose. I always feel them the strongest. When we're in Taurus, full moons will usually be in May. And at this time of year in November. And Uranus is, like I said, little earthquakes, little unsettling, little changing the status quo, changing the norms, changing the things that we're secure with, changing our values, shaking things up. When the moon and sun are opposite Uranus, you're going to get unpredictability thrown into this mix. You're going to get restlessness thrown into this mix. Uranus opposite Mars could be actually literally explosions. Or as I said, for some who are able to manage the energy, breakthroughs. So if you feel like you've been doing a lot of, you're on the fence, you're stuck in your life or your decisions about something or someone, you don't know what to do next, and you've really been torn and you feel like you've done a lot of the work on yourself, and you reach a point maybe during this new moon where you feel like you're at a max and you are ready to take a 180 decision, take a radical decision, that would be very Moon, Mars, Uranus. You know, if you suddenly go, quitting my job, don't like it here anymore, I'm going to go. That's Moon, Mars, Uranus. Telling somebody, you know what, I'm sick of dealing with this. I'm not doing this anymore. Sparks will fly, but you're out of there, you know? So some of you might make surprising announcements, surprising decisions. They might surprise you as well, but it'll be because this ability to connect deeply with your truer emotions or with your truth. Excuse me. Scorpio wants the truth. Scorpio, Mars, Sun, Moon, it wants the truth. It's not accepting less than the truth. It's going to get to the bottom of things. It's going to dig in there and say, oh yeah, what's at the bottom of that thing that you just said? What's at the bottom of this thing going on here? They're going to keep fighting until they get it. So that's where the breakthrough energy could come. That's also where violence or protest or upheaval could come too. So for personal purposes, check in with yourself. If you feel like you're ready to do a radical decision, if you feel something has been long overdue and you're just procrastinating, if you can find it in yourself to be quiet and be really, really honest with yourself about something, it's going to lead to a decision that could be quick and could be surprising to people and could throw off your routines. But that's the breakthrough side of it. That's the side we're looking for. Now, at other times, this level of intense planets and energy is going to make you just so tired. And if you're tired, well, just let yourself be tired and sleep. You know, some of you are ready to fight. Some of you are going to be shocked by things that surprise you. Some of you are going to just be like, I can't do this anymore. I've got to do something else, and you'll just do something different. And others of you are just going to be like, not ready, not the timing, too tired. So just let yourself be tired. But I do suggest, even if you feel really tired, to set your goals anyway for the year, for the new year. All right, moving on. We have a lot of red in this chart, so it means conflictual planets. So anytime that there's conflictual energy in the air like this, you can be tired, or you can activate change. So the other thing that's squaring off with with the rest of this Uranus, Scorpio is, oh, pardon me, I'm going to yawn through this whole reading. My gosh, sorry. Saturn in Aquarius is squaring off with all of this too. So again, Saturn is at the top of the chart in the Eastern time zone. It's in the 10th house, which is talking about your public image, talking about authority. And we have Saturn in Aquarius and Pluto in Capricorn pretty close in this 10th house of authority and public image. Possibly you are thinking about something of your own public image. You or somebody near you going through an upheaval about how to be seen. Are you being seen in the right way? Are you being tested or portrayed as more old or serious, Saturn? Are you sort of being portrayed as like heavy and intense and too much, like Pluto? Are you being portrayed as a changer? Pluto in Capricorn, it's Pluto. Death and rebirth. Are you seen as like a waker up or shaker kind of person? Or Saturn, are you seen as very stable but very innovative with your ideas? It's an Aquarius. So there's something about this chart that makes me feel we're going to see a theme of like testing people in authority more than usual, or perhaps like secrets coming out about people in authority, shifting of the guard of who's in charge of what. So anyway, we shall see if there's a lot of movement or shuffling of cabinets or dethroning of unmasking of people, or whether, you know, some people emerge as innovators. You know, they're in the middle of the summit in Scotland right now for climate change. According to the BBC, Jeff Bezos actually said that he's donating $2 billion to contribute to climate change. So good, finally, Jeff, you know, doing something good with the money. That would be very Saturn, Pluto, and Aquarius, right? He's not like a government body. He's got no say or power in that sense. He's a corporation. It's very Pluto and Capricorn, you know. Corporations that are larger than life, bigger than countries, with power. Saturn in Aquarius, he just went in space and now he's giving it to climate change. That's a powerful innovator. That's a shift of how we see him. If he holds to it, it's challenging other billionaires to step up and do the same thing. So that's a positive way to see it. That's one example that I just saw in the news since we're 2 days away from this new moon. So we want to see, you know, what kind of shifts of power and recognition are coming. You might see it in your own life. Could be your own career. Could be your own boss, your companies. And the other thing too is that in terms of houses, when we're talking about Eastern time zone, all of this Scorpio-ness falls in the 7th house, which is partnerships and open enemies. There's a south node in that falling in that house too, in Sag, and Mercury's very close there. There could be something of a rectification of karma going on with people. That's a very big statement, I know, but the south node is like past life direction, past life stuff. And therefore the north node is in the 1st house, which is in Gemini, close to Taurus. So wake up and shake up is where it's at versus, you know, strategic covert control or manipulation to hang on to your old position because. So you might see that going on a global or political level, or you might see it in your personal level. I would expect on a personal level that with Uranus in the 1st house, you might be wanting to reinvent yourself. Again, that theme comes up here of your image. But the 1st house is your physical body and how you physically look and come across to people and how you dress, you know, what you say. You might be shifting your image around or giving yourself some sort of makeover. And it can be energetic. You don't have to cut your hair or wear different colors. You might just be coming across in a new way. The focus would be on that, to have fun, to be playful. North node's in Gemini. Be a bit of a chameleon if you want. Try different things on for size. I mean, it's Taurus rising, but Uranus is there. So you're going to surprise us and do something we don't expect. What I'd also expect on a personal level is very deepening of some relationships with all that Scorpio in 7th house. Could be a lot of really intense bonding, really like probably an interesting sex life. We'll just put it that way. There's a lot of intensity in Scorpio for any issues with sexuality to come up. Again, jealousy and possessiveness is coming up if it's in the 7th house with Scorpio too. So take a look for that in yourself or your partners. And other than that, you know, it could be a very deepening and bonding time. You might have amazingly deep conversations with people that bring you a lot closer. All right, what else? So Pluto is also making a square, a difficult angle, particularly to the Mars, not to the Sun and Moon, and to Mercury. So Pluto square Mars is, again, people being very intense and angry and irrational and destructive in some way. It's one of the worst aspects. So again, I personally think it's because it's so powerful to handle two very intense opposing forces and somehow integrate that into something that could be useful. So usually instead it just clashes. But if any of you are into the tarot like me, it's sort of like the Chariot card. You've got the charioteer and you've got two horses running full speed. And in some of the cards, the horses are together, and others they're seeming to go off in different directions. They're both equally strong. So it's up to the charioteer, which is us or our higher self, to rein in these two horses, which would be Mars and Pluto, that could easily pull the whole chariot apart and try to figure out what keeps them on the same course, because now you're supercharged. But it takes a lot of thought, takes a lot of will, takes a lot of energy to do that. So might be a time again of like really pick your battles, because this is in the air. Pluto squaring Mercury, well, we're used to this now, like just an upheaval of talking about things, everybody's opinions, everybody's different factions, everybody's a bit of, you know, communication issues for sure with Pluto square Mercury, powerful words, saying the wrong thing. Mercury in Libra wants to be diplomatic. Pluto in Capricorn does not care. So when we look at that with, let's say, the summit or something like that, well, Mercury is squaring Pluto and Saturn in that 10th house of public image. Are we going to see somebody say something stupid, something that gets them in hot water during the summit? It's one way it could play out. So in your own life, again, you might want to be careful of your words, or again, pick your timing if you need to confront something or someone. Let's look at the good aspects that are going on. So one minor aspect that's good is Mars and Mercury together are making a good aspect to Venus. That gives me more a feeling of like, you know, if you want to stay by yourself or just in your own little group or gang and just talk amongst yourselves, that's great. It could be wonderful. If you want to get your creativity on, if you want to do some writing, great. You know, this would be like creative motivation. With Venus there, it helps that flow in a really great way. So yeah, that's one nice way to use this energy. Mercury in Libra is also making a good aspect to Jupiter. So again, it just accentuates talk. Everybody's talking. So socializing or writing, expressing yourself. Again, like Libra and Aquarius, like innovative or conceptual concepts, conceptual ideas, artistic ideas, alternative worlds, sci-fi, fantasy, how things could be, you know, this is ramped up, which is good in the midst of the rest of it, right? Because if there's a lot of upheaval, potentially, but there's also a deepening and going within for the truth. But there's also something that says, yes, but let's talk about possibilities. That's great. That can be like an antidote. So if you run into any hot water, or people near you. You can encourage that. You could say, instead of getting into the fight, try to bring it into the what's possible. That's where the energy's flowing really well. Break off into smaller groups or partners or whatever, and talk about the good possibilities or the innovative possibilities or alternatives. Brainstorming is the best way to use this. And then finally, that moon and sun in Scorpio are making a perfect trine, a few degrees off, but to Neptune and Pisces. So, this bodes well, again, like I said, for like, if it's on the intimacy side, really inspiring or spiritual conversations, increasing your spiritual life with friends, with a partner, deepening your path on that level. Neptune is falling in the 12th house, and Scorpio is very private too. So these would be like private one-on-one or behind closed doors conversations, or, covertly, like quietly saying what you really actually believe or think, but it leads to like an amazing connection with somebody. That can be a bit of a magical aspect. Like, you might have a lot more dreams, or if you meditate, you could have like really strong visions during a time like this, which also goes hand in hand with the holiday too, doesn't it? So yes, I think we'll leave it off there. The other aspects are more minor. I think we've given a good portrait. So let's take a look. Let's go back now just to our tarot and see what else it says for us. All right, that was a long analysis, but it's an intense one, so it is what it is. All right, I need some water. So let's take a look at what our tarot can add to this moon cycle, and then we'll go into the readings. All right. So the first card is the Three of Discs, which is full-time paid employment, productivity, hard work, busy, 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 busy. It's like, if you look at it from above, it's like a pyramid with 3 turbines making these huge waves from the force of this powerful work that they're doing. It suggests teamwork as well, and it suggests self-control. So you might find that these heightened energies make you extremely productive at your work. You might find you're extremely busy right now with things to do and get done. The Prince of Swords. Well, if you've been around for many of my readings, you'll know we don't really like this guy usually. As you can see, look at him. His body position's all torn and twisted. His leg is twisted over here. He's like, I can't get my sword in the right spot. Like, he's trying to scratch his back with a sword or something. And then he's trying to drive his chariot, but everybody's like twisting and turning and lying down. Like, this guy is totally ineffective. In life, he's usually, at the beginning, he's super charming and clever and funny and stuff. But once you get to know him, he's just a scatterbrain mess. So it's interesting. We have hard work and productivity, and then we have a guy who's ineffective. And again, could be your personal life, could be the global stage. Oh, this is nice. Now we have the Love card, the Two of Cups after that. Well, this is nice. So focusing on partnerships that work, focusing on where the energy is flowing well, the communication's flowing well, the emotion is good between people, that it's harmonious. Try to set aside or leave behind this Prince of Swords energy. If people are just crazy making to you, you can't keep track of what they're saying. They can't be accountable for anything. They can't explain themselves. They can't articulate anything. They make life more dramatic. Just it feels to me like you'll be releasing or getting rid of or firing, or someone's quitting. This Knight of Swords guy is going. This comes back to, more harmonious energy, an equal relationship, two people listening to each other and concerned for how they think and how they feel. So this is a very healthy relating card, and you want to be productive, get things done. You've got to have harmonious relationships around you to do that. All right, the Hierophant. So this would say there needs to be a lot of reading, some research, some study. If you're on the spiritual aspect of it, it's great for that. Again, could be reading, could be videos. You want to look at some courses to do, or a group to join, or something to keep your learning active. You might be looking for a spiritual teacher or a wise guide. This could also be your own spirit guide coming through. But it's an introspective card, but it's also a card of learning and not really analysis. It's more like drinking in knowledge, ancient knowledge. It's absorbing the wisdoms of life that you find. So it can be a great time to turn to books, unless you've got already a teacher you like. It can be a great time to meditate and try to connect to your spirit guides. And the Seven of Cups. Well, there's some old emotional baggage issues coming up. It's Venus and Scorpio. As you can see, the card looks like a swamp. It looks pretty gross. And this is basically just representing stagnant emotion. So anytime we haven't let ourselves admit the truth to ourselves, we're suppressing something. Every day, each time, bit by bit, it builds up like a virus. It builds up like a swamp inside of us emotionally. So we have to be honest how we truly feel, so that we can start to make a decision and clean this up. So it's normal that, all of those planets I mentioned could start to dredge up or highlight an area where you feel your emotions are particularly stuck. But overall, the reading feels good right now, that you're ready to do that. We have the Princess of Cups. So she's, sort of the most sensitive and sweet soul there is in the cards. She might be a bit innocent. She might be a bit gullible too. But she's also very intuitive and creative, and she wants to be in a secure, gentle world. And she will trust people. Now, this could be talking about somebody directly around you, but it could also talk about your own inner child. If you've got like mucky, swampy stuff going on, you might need to pull back and really take care of yourself as if you were a child, an inner child. If you're having difficulty with a partner or a boss or a client or whoever, you might want to pull back and say, well, if I were speaking to myself as a wise parent to my younger self, what would I tell them to do? It's a card to nurture yourself, which is very nice. And the Four of Swords. So you look at all of this mental activity, all of this it's exhausting almost to look at, right? All of these figures and lines. And yet they've created a space inside for these four swords and a flower. This tells me that you need to find a way to shut out a bit of the head noise or distraction, diversion. Be honest with yourself. I do it too. I scroll too much. And that's just pure distraction. That's my brain and my energy are just getting tired, flipping around videos or scrolling posts that don't necessarily enrich my life. So creating a space to go within for peace or to talk. Like we keep saying, intimacy and deep talks keeps coming up. You're creating a space for that. You got to get away from some of these distractions. It's necessary if you have harmonious relationships. You have to create the space for that to keep going. Reach out to people, make sure you're listening, they're listening, you have privacy. And it's also necessary for productivity, like the first card. We can't be doom scrolling and productive at the same time. There's only so much you can do at once. So there's going to be a lot of, like I said, electric kind of charge energy around. So do what you need to do to keep yourself in this space of peace. And the Nine of Cups, well, that's very nice. Very happy cards, celebratory, water's flowing, everything is harmonious and clean and happy, joyful. It's a happiness card, it says. That goes back to that Venus aspect for me, Venus, Mars, and Mercury. Meeting up with small groups of friends, people that you have like something creative or something you bond well, they're easy to be with. You might want to have some sort of small gathering or talk. You might want to get together and make things or, just something. This is light. This is light and fun. So again, a lot of things here point towards, pulling back from trying to solve the world or be distracted by so much, finding, your safe space. But we're not talking isolating yourself. It's not the hermit. We're talking just create a space for you and a few like-minded souls, or even one friend. Create a nice, secure space for that so you can deepen this relationship during this time. And finally, the last card is the Moon. The Moon is a sensitive card. It has shadow and light to it, and it's very sensitive to what's next to it. So because it's beside the joy and happiness card, it gives it more the happy moon result, which means touching something magical, inspirational, touching a feeling of the mysteries of the divine, wonder, something that's beyond us. And that would be an excellent thing to do with the Scorpio moon. Admit we do not know everything, and we never will. And that is good. It's a comforting thought, if anybody is down about humanity, to realize humanity doesn't have it all figured out. Humans are not the only force on this planet. There's only so much we can do or understand. Having a bit of room for mystery or for forces of nature, the power of a creator, the power of whatever your deity or God is, gives you a sense there's something way bigger than me here. I don't have to understand it all. I don't have to control it. And that gives people usually enormous relief and peace. Wow. So let's just see how we can, how can we create a really good question for the readings for this moon. I'm just going to get my little pen and paper. All right. Just trying to tune in to what would be a really relevant question for everybody. I think what we'll do is the question will be, what's the best use of this intense energy? How can my sign, how can I channel this intense energy in the best possible way? Because this is a 2-week period. So what's your next 2 weeks going to look like? What's the best way for you to use this time? I think I like that. Sort of practical, but it's also honoring like every sign might have a different reaction to this kind of electric, frictional, or warrior-like energy in the air. Truth-telling energy. All right. So first of all, just spread the cards. So Aries. And there's the Chariot. There's the Chariot I mentioned before. So you see the charioteer is just sitting there, full of armor, has this disc on his lap, sort of suggesting how much power he has. It's almost like a mesmerizing spinning wheel that you could be sucked into. And he's got very long arms and almost crab-like hands. And instead of horses, he's got these gargoyle sort of figures. And they're just sitting there. They won't move. So he has all this power behind him in this huge chariot, and they're just like, you know? So Aries, maybe you're feeling enormous frustration trying to get people motivated and being, to do things collectively or be on the same team. You've got some, you might have some overbearing people in your midst. And then you've got some people with just like a, yeah, tell me what to do kind of mentality. And maybe it's a bit extreme. So you might find yourself pouring a lot of energy into team building and relationship building and bridging gaps and trying to find what's going to help a group of people function better. This is going to take a lot of energy. I can't lie. But you might find yourself motivated to tackle that task. But it's going to be, if you do, it's going to be a longer project than 2 weeks. And you're carving out a role for yourself that might continue after that. So it's not like a one-off and then, oh no, I don't want to do that anymore. If you successfully bring people together and something starts to move forward, they're going to want you to do it again. So choose wisely. All right, Taurus. And you get the Knight of Swords guy. Well, Taurus, I think there's someone around you. Could be a friend, family member, co-worker. Somebody is not pulling their weight, not understanding, not grasping what needs to be done. Or there's somebody in your midst who is really struggling mentally right now. It can be somebody who's not typically always in that state of mind. They might be temporarily in that state of mind. This person really needs some help especially needs your kind of help, practical. Bring him down to earth, step by step, 1, 2, 3, practical decisions. Help the person, with very practical matters. Could be just like fixing something, cleaning something, budgeting something, because this guy's a mess. So you might be trying to help this person. You might be wanting to fire this person. I don't know. You might be the one who swoops in to say, hey, I will help you. Reorder your head. And sort of like the Aries message, like choose wisely, because, you're taking on a responsibility if you do that. You can't just drop it in a couple of weeks. But this person greatly needs some sort of change or intervention. So ask yourself if that's going to be you. All right, Gemini. All right, so you have the Queen of Discs. Well, she's avoidant to me in this card. Sometimes I look at her and I see her as just very busy with her own affairs, tending to what needs to be done. She's not giving attention to the viewer, us. She has her little ram down there to be her secretary. But I'm getting a feeling that there's a woman around, and it could be you, but it could be someone near you who has a decent amount of power in her life or ego. Look at these huge horns. She either is all that or she thinks she is. And she is avoiding you or avoiding talking about something important. So I feel like you might be feeling like the ram in this picture, sort of like, who the hell are you? Or like, go away. Or like, she doesn't want to talk to you. Or why isn't she talking about it? Like, I feel there's a lot of frustration in you about whoever this is who's being avoidant with you. So again, all that Scorpio could lead you to a power struggle with this person. Depending who it is, you have to really ask yourself, who am I dealing with? If this is your boss and you don't have that kind of relationship, then you probably don't want to touch it. But if this is somebody where you feel you could get through, we sort of want to turn her head around and say, face me, please. Let's talk about this. So if you're in that position where you can do that with all of these planets, you might find that you hash it out. You might find something gets achieved, something gets clarified. It doesn't mean it makes it all fine, but you might know where she stands. You might know where you stand better. Cancer. You've got the Hermit. You should just hunker down, man. Just go solo, fly solo, batten down the hatches, stay in your apartment. So I'm laughing because I feel like that sort of like sounds like being a coward, but the Hermit is really like choosing solitude is just fine. This is basically, I'm laughing, but basically this just means look at all the light. The Hermit is alone, chooses to be alone, to go within, to meditate, and the light comes back on from within. So Cancer, I think for you, all of those Scorpio planets typically are going to fall in your 5th house of romance and children and creativity. You might find that you need to sort of pull back from your social activities and pull back from, like I said at the beginning, distractions. It seems like you need some time to rest and to meditate and to go within and to really get in touch with your truth, get in touch with how you truly feel about things. And you might need to rest. And, you've got down here this 3-headed dog. This is Cerberus, which is involved with, crossing the river Hades. They encounter him when they cross over to different worlds. You might find the best use of this new moon is to focus on your spiritual life, go back to whatever practices or books or people that help you with that. Journal or go for walks alone. You need to pull back and be alone for a bit. It's just a couple of weeks sort of period where you need to be with yourself more than usual. All right, Leos. Yeah. And you get this swamp card. So Leo, are you ready to tackle or drain the swamp energy in your life? Where are you feeling stagnant emotionally? What have you not been feeling or releasing or saying? Venus in Scorpio also is like, what are your desires? Are you in touch with your true desires, or have you been sort of putting them on the side? So all of these planets are in fixed signs, and so are you. So they're all squaring off with you. So it's really, this new moon's really going to activate you to take some action to get unstuck. That could look like if you're single and you're dating and you keep picking the same type, stop it. Just stop it. You know, get your head clear on who you are and what you deserve again, and stop repeating some cycle. That can apply to habits or addictions or anything that you know that you're doing that you know you should stop doing. It's time to just tell yourself, stop it, and clean up the pond here. It does sound a bit harsh, but you need a bit of tough love on yourself right now, because this muck just never leads to anything good. It's just a recipe for more difficult emotions, more feeling of betrayal or disappointment, more low self-esteem, you name it. Emotional stagnation, is just not a good place to be. So try to get honest with where you're feeling the most stagnant, that you're not getting what you desire, that you're not going after what you really want, where you're like tolerating things that you don't really like, and you're tired and drained from it, and tell yourself, stop it. All right, Virgos. Eek, the Tower. Oh boy. This is a card of things falling apart and liberation. So this is the card of, if you keep holding on, doing the same thing that you don't enjoy or that isn't true to yourself, you're going to be forced to change it in some way. If you're in denial, you're going to be thrust out of your denial. If for you particularly, that whole Uranus opposition makes a lot of sense with Uranus-Mars. You might just have this I can't bloody well take it anymore moment, and you might just lash. The mouth of fire here that burns the tower down. Just be careful of that, Virgo, because you know that you have analyzed to a T what would poke somebody's button, and you might use it if you're that upset. Instead, like, try to use this moment for the breakthrough. So if you feel like I can't stand it anymore, I can't do this, I try to think about, okay, what do I need to do to release this? What dramatic action would liberate me? This is the card that represents more what I said at the beginning of, I'm done with this job, that's it. And people go, what? You didn't give us any warning. Well, in my head, it's been coming a long time. Here it is. So shock value, but not superficial shock value, but something shocking. You can either be the one, you can either receive the shock, or you can accept the shock and go, oh, that's my turn to decide something based on this shock. You are liberated by it. So try not to be nervous of whatever it is that seems to be falling apart. It does liberate you and free you from it for good. And whatever it is was not meant to stay this way. All right. Libras. Oops. Libra. And you have a card you probably hate. Change. No clear answer. No, it's light, it's dark, it goes in a circle. There's a snake biting its tail. In the infinity symbol, change is always going on. Death and rebirth, transformation is always going on. Sometimes it's dark, sometimes it's light, never know which. So Libra, you're going to hate this card, right? Because it's not telling you what to do. It's not making a decision. It's just affirming probably what you already do all the time anyway. So your next task, over this new moon is probably just going to be more reflecting on change itself, trying to get clear or recognize the cycle that you're in, trying to make peace that things won't always be this way, and that's okay. Could revolve around letting things go or letting people go, not in a bad way, like something dramatic, but sort of like, a kid who grows up and leaves home. It's time to let them go. People that aren't spending as much time with you or talking to you as much as usual or whatever, like let them have their space. Things change, things will come back. So it's really more of a philosophical stance for you during this time. Interesting. Scorpios, happy birthday to you, Scorpios. All right, your card is the King of Cups. So a very nice person on the way or supporting you. If this is related to your love life, this is the best guy you can get, in my opinion. One of the two. He's going to be emotional and thoughtful. Oh, excuse me. He's going to be protective. He's going to be someone you can confide in. He's going to be very loving. And he might have some issues of, being daydreamy at times, idealistic or reminiscent of the past, but overall he's a very nice find. So this could be describing you, or this could be somebody around you who's coming in, or you could get much closer to. Whether it's instant couple, I don't know. Whether it's like a closer friendship that's happening, but it's really got a lovely feeling to it. Like you can trust this person. And there's probably a really good sense of bonding and like a secure feeling around the relationship. So for you, I think it's going to be like a lovely like renewal and using these planets for the intimacy and confiding side of things. Very lovely for your birthday. All right, so Sagittarius. Okay. Oh well. Ten of Swords. Meh. So I would say for you, Sag, times have been a bit rough lately. You've tried everything that you can, and you've analyzed it every possible way that you can. And the card says ruin. It's a time when the Ten of Swords is when the air element has come to its max and it is saturated. This is usually a time when somebody has been so in their head that there is no way to think yourself out of it. The next solutions, the solutions to your problem have to come from physical, tangible action, or from moving from the head into the heart. As you can see, there's a teeny tiny heart there, and there's all these swords pointing at it, and there's light around it. But I would imagine that you or somebody near you is avoiding their emotions to such a degree that they've created just a torrent in their head, and it's making a mess. It's probably already made a mess, and you need to think. They can't think their way out of it. And if you're in that situation or you're supporting someone like this, you can't think the way out of it either. This is a very much a time for feeling it and taking very down-to-earth, practical steps. It's not about thinking of one more way or one more thing we could do, one more sign, one more thing we could read, one more. No, it's done. So your next couple of weeks could be a bit intense because it sort of suggests something needs to end, or the way you're dealing with it needs to end. So I would say your next 2 weeks are about reroute your mindset. surrender and start making some different decisions. Scrap the approach that you're using to something that's bothering you right now and reroute yourself. All right, Capricorn. You have the Five of Swords. So for me, this card is too many cooks in the kitchen. Too many people or parties with different opinions clashing. The swords are all different. The hilt is different in every one. So 5 different people, 5 different ways of thinking, and they meet in the middle and they're bending so they could break. And it makes an inverted pentagram, which means that people are in their ego big time. And they're vying for who's the right one, who's right. At the same time, this card shows like an absence of an authority. There's nobody in charge, really. It's 5 sort of equals fighting it out with their ego and probably harsh words. So if you're in a situation like that right now, whoa, something just fell over on my desk. Okay, that's Jesus. Okay, maybe a sign. If you're in that situation, I would suggest that you politely withdraw from the conflict. It's not adding to anything. You won't win. Somebody will go down. Sometimes this card can mean quitting a job or being fired. Sometimes it can be a huge argument in a relationship. And it's temporary, but it's still upsetting. So really think about, the main question really to think about is, if you're in a conflict in some way and you feel compelled to keep pushing it or bringing it up, and you're not getting heard or you're getting resistance, ask yourself, what am I looking for here? Is this my ego? Do I want someone to go, oh yes, you're right, or oh, you win? Because nobody wins with this card. So the higher energy is to realize, oh wow, look, this isn't getting anywhere here, and just to politely leave the scene, leave the room, put your sword down and go, because you're in like a pointless conflict. And because there's no leadership in this card, there's no one to step in to bring order or justice or anything to it. It's really feels pointless. So yeah, sorry Capricorn, but that's a really clear message. All right, Aquarius, let's see. Well, this is nice. You've got the Lust card or the Temperance card in other decks. This is an awesome card. This is tapping into the warrior self, the passion. It's lust. It's like, those Scorpio planets are being used for a reason here. And it's not to talk about sexuality in terms of like being, horny or something like that. No, this is divine energy. Your sexual energy is divine energy. And if you can harness that sexual energy that we all have into something passionate, into like a strong goal, into something that you've got to step up for, she's touching the essence of something greater than, it's above the horizon. It's greater than herself, where all of this manifestation and change happen. She's lying back in the sun and she's trusting. She's like, this is mine. I'm taking this. I will take this. Bring it on, And she's about to do something big. She's about to, make a bold move. In this case, all of those, Uranus oppositions and stuff that's happening with you, I would bank on this being more of a breakthrough time where you do have the energy to take on, Herculean energy that you haven't had like in a long time to step up to the plate. That's great. That's a great reading. And finally, Pisces. And I pull the Pisces card, 10 of Cups. So, well, the 10 of Cups is usually my burnout card, my overwhelm. The head, it's a foggy head, foggy-minded. It's like the water element when it's saturated. So happiness card comes before this. And then the 10 of Cups would be sort of like, the happiness card would be like having some amazing cake. And the 10 of Cups would be like having 2 more pieces even though you're already full. And then you're in some sugar coma. You can't tell how you feel. You're just numb from your food coma. So you might feel like you're in a bit of that with overwhelm with whatever's going on. If you find yourself feeling sort of numbed out or spaced out, something might be triggering you, or you might be just really that tired. Usually when this 10 of Cups comes up, I find people are like trying to take care of too many things at once, too many people, too many things they said yes to, too many daily tasks and obligations and people to care for all at once. So the main message here for you Pisces is like, just make sure that you are not sort of burnt out or pre-burnt out, and take care of yourself and release some of the things on your plate. Yeah, otherwise it's not a bad card, but it's just sort of a warning. So you might be erring on the side of the folks who find the energy just overwhelming and you're tired. And that's fine. If you need to rest and sleep, then you do. But yeah, pay attention if you feel numb, spaced out, foggy-headed, blurry-eyed, if you feel a bit depressed. And before you start thinking, oh no, I have something wrong with my health or I'm depressed, ask yourself, am I just burnt out? And if the answer is yes, then you rest first. And as you rest, you'll realize what things you no longer want to do or carry, which is like getting in touch with your inner truth. But first you need to rest probably before you can even see or feel what your inner truth would be to decide. All right, well, this is going to be an interesting time for the next couple weeks then. Quite interesting messages. And I've added now a meditation that follows this, which I'll probably do tomorrow, where it'll be an intuitive meditation to help you with the energy of this new moon and how to honor these planets and set your mind for the next couple of weeks. If you like this, give it a like, give me a follow, share it with your friends. If you want to reach me for a session, all my info is below in the links. All right, take care, everybody.